Eric Kim claims former friend Patricia Davis owes for car rental fees and the cost to repair her computer. Eric claims Patricia used him.
Mr. Kim, how did you meet the defendant?
I met her over the internet, over a dating service, Match.com.
And when was your first face-to-face meeting?
We exchanged phone numbers and talked, and then she needed some computer services, and I had my own computer business, so we met a couple weeks after that.
Where?
At her house.
But you were going there really for social reasons, is that right, sir?
Social and professional.
Social.
Well,
Don't listen,
yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Let's understand each other. I read your complaint very carefully.
Okay.
Your complaint alleges the following, sir. That she owes you for computer services that she agreed to pay you for. More importantly, according to you, she sort of conned you into renting a car for her for a day, and she kept the car for a couple of weeks, and you want her to pay the cost of the car. Ms. Davis says that you were a very generous fellow. You fixed her computer because you were a nice guy and you were interested in her, and you rented her a car, right?
I didn't take advantage of him. No.
Listen, when you have a legitimate case, don't muck it up with nonsense.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Kim? You didn't meet her online because she was looking for a repairman.
No, she wasn't.
You met her online through a dating service because you were looking for a date.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not the way you get your business, right?
Nope.
So you went to her house, Mr. Kim, for the purpose of meeting her in person.
True.
Now, you knocked at the door, you rang the bell, and she answered the door, and you went, aha. Right?
Yes, I did.
Good. And you went inside, and what happened when you went inside, Mr. Kim?
I looked around, and she had a very nice place.
Good. Did you have a meal? Did she offer you a drink? Did she offer you a cup of coffee? Did you go out? What did you do?
We just talked, and she mentioned that she saw...
You were talking. Miss Davis, are you accustomed to inviting people over to your house that you meet on the internet? Don't you know that that's dangerous, madam?
No,
Almost not an answer.
I usually do not invite people over to my home.
Well, why did you invite Mr. Kim?
Well, we had chatted online several times and talked on the phone several times before we finally connected, and I felt it was safe. He told me he had a computer business. I did do a search online, and I did see his business online, so it wasn't like I was inviting some axe murderer over to my house.
Well, you don't know that. He may have been an axe murderer with a computer business.
Could have been.
Don't speak. Did you go out, or did he stay in your house?
He stayed in my house.
For how long?
Probably about 2 hours.
What were you doing in the house for 2 hours?
He was fixing my computer and then hooking up my wireless.
Did you ever see him again?
The second time when he rented me the car.
When did he come to your house and fix the computer?
What date was it? January? I don't even know.
November.
November.
Mr. Kim, what date did you go to her house?
November 5th, 2005.
Okay. Now, she said you were there for a couple of hours. You worked on her computer. When you left, Mr. Kim, can I see a copy of the bill you left her for the repairs of her computer? Thank you. This is dated December 15th, sir.
Well,
I asked you, listen to my question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question was a very specific one, Mr. Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to see a copy of the bill you left for Miss Davis on November the 5th. And the answer is, Mr. Kim, you did not leave her a bill.
That's true.
You generated a bill on December 15th, right?
Right.
Was that before or after you rented a car for her?
That was before.
When did you rent the car for her?
November 9th through the 17th.
Listen to my question very carefully, Mr. Kim. I said to you, did you generate this bill before or after you rented the car for her?
It's after.
Right. So between the time you fixed this computer allegedly for money and the time you rented the car for her, you did not generate a bill.
No, ma'am.
How long have you been in the computer business, Mr. Kim?
About 5 or 6 years.
When you fix a computer, sir, do you generate a bill within the first day, 2 days, 3 days?
Right after I finished the job.
Right. Okay. So now, Mr. Kim, I'm giving you back this bill.
Okay.
Is this a friend of yours, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
He's going to tell you what you can do with it.
Okay.
So let's just forget about the computer part of it. With what I consider the potential legitimate case that we have here, which is the fact that Ms. Davis took advantage of your generosity when you offered to rent a car for her for a day. Now, how did this car business come about, Mr. Kim?
She explained that she needed a car to see a friend of hers in Oakland, and I said that I would rent it for her.
Why?
Because her credit was bad.
She told you that?
Yes.
I didn't say my credit was bad. My credit cards were maxed out.
Okay. Who's in Oakland?
My ex-boyfriend.
Was he an ex-boyfriend then?
Yes.
So what were you going to visit him for?
He had surgery on his ankle.
This isn't the ex-boyfriend,
No.
is it? Who is this?
Thomas Greenwood. He's my friend. He's my...
He has a car.
Yeah. He was a witness to...
What?
They didn't catch it, but I caught that one.
Listen to me. She called and said she needed a car for a day, so you agreed to rent a car for her for a day. What happened, Mr. Kim?
She promised that she would return it, paying for the amount for the rent the next day, and that was what we agreed upon.
What date did you go to Oakland?
The 8th or the 9th of November.
So what happened?
I went there and I saw my friend, and I stayed there for a couple of days, and then I came back to my house, and then back to the Bay Area again a few more times. And then all of a sudden, the police show up at my house. And I was in bed asleep, and they, I didn't lock my door because I live in a nice neighborhood. I didn't think I had anything to worry about. And I hear this, when I'm 12, all those CB radios and stuff. And I wake up, and they have, guns drawn on me. And I said, what's going on? They're all, we're here for the stolen car. I said, stolen car? There's no stolen car. And they said, well, we have a report that there's a stolen car here.
Mr. Kim, how many times did you try to reach her between the 8th of November and what day, the 16th?
Yes. At least 4 times a day.
Did you leave any messages?
The message box was full.
What do you do for a living, Miss Davis?
I'm a receptionist for a doctor's office.
For how long?
6 years.
Same doctor?
Same doctor.
What kind of doctor is it?
Podiatrist.
You have any children?
1.
Where's that child live?
Half the time with me and the other half with her father.
Okay. Now you can stand up. Who are you?
I'm her friend. I guess I get to handle the axe murderers.
How long have you known the defendant?
About 7 years.
Have you ever met Mr. Kim?
Yes, I have.
When?
The day that he came over to do the repairs on the computer.
Tell me about that meeting.
It was formal. I tried to stay away from them. He was working on the computer. I was just there to, lend support. I was over visiting my friend.
So she wasn't there alone?
Correct.
When Mr. Kim came over?
Yes.
Very nice. So what do you know about this car, sir?
Only that they agreed to...
Don't tell me what they agreed, sir, unless you were there when the agreement was made.
Well, they talked about renting the car at that point.
They did?
Yes.
Tell me what you heard.
I don't recall who brought it up. I just, the fact that she didn't have a vehicle and that they had problems, getting a hold of each other. He was offering and she was, lending it to be known that,
Sit down. Why would people come on national television to make a fool of themselves? You don't want to say anything, do you?
No, ma'am.
Perfect.
I could.
Can I say something?
Shh. You see, Miss Davis, when you come to court, you have to file papers. Mm-hmm. Paper that you filed was an answer. Mm-hmm. In order to be a good witness, you have to remember what you file in an answer. Do you understand?
Correct.
And you have to be very careful because the judge is usually smarter than you are.
Right.
In this case, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
So, in this case, what you said was, I was having trouble getting around, and he volunteered to let me have a car, and he volunteered to rent it for me, so it would be easy for me to get around. So that when I said to you specifically, very quickly, so that you didn't have time to think, who was in Oakland? Because that you didn't mention in your answer.
No.
No. He mentioned it in his complaint. He said you had somebody that you had to see in Oakland that you needed to rent a car for a day. Mm-hmm.
But I have guys help me out all the time. I've had a guy buy me a BMW before.
Well, you must know how to do something right, Miss Davis. Nobody ever bought me a BMW. How much was the car?
$11.77 and 45 cents.
Now, Mr. Kim, you picked somebody that you hardly knew, right?
Yes.
That told you that she had maxed out credit cards, or according to bad credit, whichever one. You're a businessman. You're a businessman. I mean, maybe you thought you were going to get some of the benefits of the BMW guy, but that doesn't mean that you lay out the credit card first, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1177.45. That's all.
22-year-old Chris Hopkins is suing his former friend, 22-year-old Corey Ferris, for veterinary bills. Chris claims Corey got his dog drunk during a party.
Bird, what kind of cases do I hate?
You hate cases where people are drunk,
Yes!
but they look nice.
Well, they're at least dressed. They put on ties. They're neat drunks. But they're college students. Is that right?
That's right, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions before I get into this dumb drunk case. What school do you go to?
University of Georgia.
And what year are you in?
I'm about to graduate in the fall.
You know what the tuition is?
I think it's about $3,000 a year.
Do you live on campus?
I do not live on campus. I live just off campus in a house.
And rent on the house for you, your share.
$650 a month.
Take your hands out of your pockets. How old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
Okay. Do you go to school full time?
I do.
Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for Miller Brewing Company.
And how much did you earn last year?
Approximately $7,000 last year.
Okay. So, pocket money.
Yes,
And who's footing the bill for this tuition?
my father.
Now, you, Mr. Ferris,
Yes.
you have about the same expenses, sir?
Maybe a little less, but pretty much. Except for I don't pay tuition, I have a scholarship.
Okay. Do you work?
I
is not an answer.
didn't work, I just graduated in May.
Okay, so who supported you while you were going to college?
Well, mostly my dad.
Good. Now, according to your complaint, Mr. Hopkins, you were having a party at your house.
That's correct, Your
At
Honor.
your rental house.
No, it's owned
By whom?
by me.
You own the house.
That's correct.
Where you live.
That's right.
Good. How did you save up enough money to buy this house?
My grandmother left me money, Your Honor.
So you took your grandmother's money.
That's
Let me
correct.
understand something. You took your
And I
grandmother.
invested it.
Shut. Listen to me. You took your grandmother's money and you invested in a house.
That's right.
Where you charge rent to other people.
That's correct.
And you have parties where there's a lot of drinking.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, according to your complaint, Mr. Hopkins, you had one of those wild parties where everybody was drinking, and you have a dog.
Right.
And it is your complaint that Mr. Ferris fed your dog alcohol, as a result of which your dog got sick. And in addition, after your dog got sick, and because Mr. Ferris and others had thrown their glass beer bottles in the yard, there was broken glass, and your dog also got glass in his paw, and you had a vet bill of almost $1,000 between the dog being inebriated and the paw that had to be cleaned up and stitched.
Almost perfectly correct.
It's close enough for your purposes, sir. Now, the first thing that you said that's irritating me is that your father spends a lot of money for school for you, and this drunk business always struck me as being stupid, even when my own children were involved in it when they were in college. I always resented paying for a 4-year party. But what really irritates me about you, Mr. Hopkins, is that I'm sure that your grandmother was somebody who saved her money and was very careful with her money.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when she left you that money, I'm sure what she wanted you to do was to be careful, cautious, and respectful of this little legacy that she left you. And you bought a house and proceeded to throw parties and probably trash it.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, how many college kids live in your house, sir?
2. Myself and one other.
And how many parties did he have last year, Mr. Ferris, at his house?
Countless.
Countless. Got it. So that's my problem with you.
We have very clean parties, Your Honor.
What?
We have very clean parties, Your Honor. We're responsible.
Mr. Hopkins, don't play with me.
I'm not playing with you.
Good. If you're not playing with me, then don't talk to me unless I'm talking to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now we'll get to you, Mr. Ferris, because you acknowledge in your answer, ply the dog with alcohol. You're going to tell me why, because Bert is really interested to know why you would give a dog alcohol.
Well, I didn't give it to him at first. I was drinking it out of one of those Dixie cups and was sitting on the floor next to my chair. And the dog came up and started drinking it himself. So I figured, you know, this dog is clearly an alcoholic. So I fed him maybe 10 ounces of beer.
Okay.
Could not have gotten him drunk. It was
Listen to me,
very
Mr.
small
Ferris.
amount.
Put your hand down. I didn't ask you anything. Mr. Ferris, your defense, as far as I can understand it, sir, is that you gave the dog alcohol, but not more than, according to your answer, 12 ounces of alcohol. which could not have made this dog drunk. Being a veterinarian, I don't think you can make that judgment. But your defense really is that there were other people also giving the dog alcohol, so if the dog got sick, it was a cumulative effect, therefore you should not be responsible. That is your defense, is that right?
Not only that, but I don't see why I should be responsible, period, because, especially for the dog cutting his foot, I don't see how that has anything to do with me.
I'm talking to you about alcohol, sir.
All right.
And I have other important cases to do today, other than drunk cases, which I don't like to begin with. So I'm going to give you a quick analogy. Let's say on a Saturday night late, you're walking in the street and you're walking alone, and a group of 3 thugs come up and surround you and demand your wallet. The 3 of them then take out knives and start to stab you, and you are critically injured. The police catch one of them. The other 2 get away. Put your hand down. If the perpetrator said, I wasn't the only one to stab him, and therefore you can't charge me with stabbing him critically because there were 2 other people involved. Do you know what the justice system says to you?
What if the guy testified against the other 2 and they gave him a lesser...
Listen to me. Don't change my fact pattern, sir.
All right.
This is my party. This is my playpen. The fact that you were dumb enough to feed this dog alcohol, causing the dog to get sick, makes you totally and completely responsible. And if there were other morons like you at the party, sue them. You're free to do that. You're even free to bring those people before me, sir.
Okay.
I can deal with them. As far as you're concerned, you're the donkey, and the tail is on you. You fed him alcohol. You're responsible. Now, what were your medical bills?
$967.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $967. Do me a favor, no more drunk cases today.
Terrell Taggart claims ex-fiancé Travis Miller owes for false allegations of assault, money taken from a joint bank account, and his share of wedding expenses.
Miss Taggart, you and Mr. Miller were engaged to be married. You have a child from a previous relationship.
Yes, I do.
And the 3 of you live together.
Yes.
There came a time when that engagement and that relationship terminated. You were in the process of planning a wedding, and it is your claim that Mr. Miller owes you for a whole host of things. First, false allegations that he made with regard to an incident where he claimed that you bit him and assaulted him, emptying out a bank account that was yours, not giving you property back that belonged to you, and wedding expenses that you paid for. Mr. Miller says he doesn't owe you a dime. He also paid for wedding expenses. He says that the allegations of assault were absolutely true. He doesn't have any property that belongs to you anymore, and he really wants you to move on with your life because he says that his life has been made unbearable by you and your family, who have embarked on a constant course of harassment, including filing of multiple lawsuits.
Yes,
so far, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, when did this blissful relationship commence?
We got engaged on September 16th of 2005.
Were you living together at the time?
We didn't move in together until the next month.
You moved in together in whose home?
We rented an apartment together, and we both signed the lease.
And when was this argument that terminated the relationship?
The argument happened on May 10th, which was 10 days before the wedding was supposed to happen.
Is that when the assault allegedly took place, sir?
Approximately, Your Honor.
Not approximately.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You want to tell me what happened, Miss Taggart?
Yes, ma'am. I had gone to Morgan, where all of the wedding arrangements were to take place, to finalize the cake and the
flowers.
And the flowers. I called him at work and told him I was going to be going, and he didn't want me to go.
Why didn't you want her to go?
Well, because, Your Honor, I wanted to participate in the, the formalizing of this wedding.
Then he told you that?
No, he did not tell me that.
What did he tell you?
He just told me that he didn't want me to go, and previously he'd told me that he didn't want anything to do with planning it, that it was my wedding and I was in charge of planning it.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went to him, called me several times, and was very upset. And
well, what did he say to you when he called?
He would just yell at me. He was mad at me because I talked to my mother about how he was upset with me. He didn't want me to even talk to my mother about it.
Miss Taggart, I'm not getting a full picture. After you spoke to him on the phone and he was upset with you, did you call your mother?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why did you call your mother?
I called my mother because when I talked to him on the phone, I was very upset, and I just wanted to call and mostly have somebody just help me calm down so that I wasn't so upset. I was going to finalize wedding plans, and I didn't want to have tears running down my face when I was doing it.
Go ahead.
I finalized the wedding plans, and I called him when I was on my way home, as he'd asked, and he said, well, we'll just talk when you get home. And so I got home, and my son was asleep, and so I took him to bed in our bedroom.
How old is your son?
He's 7 now. He was 6 at the time.
If he was sleeping, where was he sleeping?
He was asleep in the car on the way home.
So you went to finalize the wedding plans with your son?
Yes.
And when you got home, you put your son to bed in your bedroom?
Yes.
Is that where he usually sleeps?
Yes, he had a bed in the front room, but he'd often come and slept in our bed.
It's not an answer, Miss Tackett. 7 years old, they're supposed to sleep in their own room if they have a room. When he slept in your room, where did he sleep?
He would just sleep in the bed. I laid him in there because I knew that Travis and I were going to be having a conversation and I didn't want it to wake him. So I put him to sleep in our bed. And Travis was standing by the bathroom door when I got home. He gave me a hug and I went and I sat on the couch in our front room. And a few minutes later he came and he sat down in the chair across from me. And he started asking me questions and something about like $1,600 missing from the bank account. And I told him it was just all finalizing wedding plans.
Did you have a joint checking account?
We did. He was put on the checking account 2 months prior to this.
And you were working at the time?
Yes.
Who were you working for?
I was working for the Huntsman Cancer Hospital.
And you?
Yes, I'm employed for the state of Utah for JJS, Juvenile Justice Services.
Okay. So you were each depositing your checks in the bank?
Yes,
in this joint bank account? Okay, go ahead.
And so it started to get heated. He started yelling at me about all sorts of things. I remember I was holding a pillow sitting on the couch, and he stood over me, shaking his finger at me, telling me that I was weak and I was worthless, and he couldn't even believe he was attracted to me. And then he asked me to leave, and I was okay with that. At the time, I was fed up with the fight. I was ready to be done with the fight. And so I said, okay, I'll leave. And I went to go back to the bedroom to get my son. And Travis had been drinking prior in the evening. And Travis said, you're not taking him with you. And I said, he's my son and he's going with me. And I tried to get past Travis to go get my son, and he pushed me. And he did this repetitively. He pushed me into the wall, into the kitchen table, into the couch, down on the bed, down on the floor. And I did the pushing and shoving match for a minute, and then I said, you know what, I'm just going to call the cops. I grabbed my cell phone and I started to dial 911, and he grabbed my phone and he threw it across the house. After that, I went out and I was kind of freaked out. I stood there for a second, and I decided that I had to get my son. And so I started to get violent with him. I did bite him on the upper left chest. I believe I bit him on the right forearm. I punched him, I kicked him. I was doing everything I could to get my son out of that house.
Why didn't you just go outside and call the police?
A moment of confusion.
Okay.
And so I started to get violent with him. And he said, you're not taking him, he's my son. And I said, you're not to him. And Travis then began to cry. He sat on the floor, and I tried to get past him again to get my son. He then grabbed my legs and threw me to the ground. When I got up again, I started punching him in the top of the head. And I finally got past him. Well, he ran into the bedroom following me, and the fight had escalated, and, you know, we were now in the bedroom. I didn't want my son to wake up, and so I laid on top of his ears. I covered his ears so that he wouldn't wake up.
All right, Mr. Miller, you want to tell me, please, your version of what happened on the night of May 10th?
Yes, Your Honor. While Ms. Taggart is emotional, the events that transpired. Yes, I'll take it. I'd gotten off work around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't drunk. I called to pay my cell phone bill, our cell phone bill, over the phone. And I knew from the day before, because she told me she would like to go do some wedding things, and I asked her, you know, can I go with you? I don't go alone. I said, I got up at 4. Prior to this, I called the cell phone company, and they said, no money in your account. So I got home, and I was a little upset, sober, not drunk. And we did have an argument. Her son was sleeping in our room, and if we did have such a horrendous fight, you know, he would have woken up in the first place. She did assault me. I didn't touch her. She could have called the police at any time. I did ask her to leave at that time because she was emotional. And that's about how it transpired, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Taggart. So let me explain something to you. Let's deal with the false allegations of abuse. There were no false allegations of abuse. You lost your cool, and you assaulted him. That's it. You bit him. You bit him here, you bit him here, you bit him here. I'm not sure whether I believe that he struck you and abused you, because if he did, the police would have arrested him. Did they respond to your home?
They did not. I actually tried to file a police report several times within the following weeks. I went to the desk, and the officer at the desk didn't care. They just shrugged me off.
Okay. There were many ways you could have handled the incident that occurred in your house on the 10th of May. You chose the most inappropriate one. Most appropriate one is if you're having a fight with him, and if you were emotional, which clearly you were, it's not the right time to take your son out of a sleeping bed. There's no question in my mind that Mr. Miller was not going to hurt your son. So you go outside, you cool off, you call your mother, you call the police if you have to, say, I want to go get my son. But what you don't do is you don't bite him and kick him and scratch him and punch him and then go inside and put your hands over your son's sleeping ears so that he won't be awake. That's stupid. You agree with that, don't you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Well, then that's your problem. Because that's the right thing to do if you're a reasonable mother. Your daughter is emotional. She's your daughter, isn't it?
Yes.
Your daughter is emotional, and the truth of the matter is, on that day, May 10th, based upon what she told me, she did the wrong thing. She went to finalize wedding plans. He asked her not to go, to wait for him until he got out of work. She went anyway. There's no question he got upset with her. Instead of resolving the issue, she calls her mommy. Certainly, that's not the way two grown-ups are supposed to deal with their wedding plans. Your daughter got emotional. I don't believe Mr. Miller was drunk. I don't believe that for a minute. So, let's deal with the bank account. You say, Miss Taggart, that Mr. Miller emptied the bank account.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
On what date did he empty the bank account?
It was the day immediately following the fight. It would have been May 11th.
How much money was in the bank account?
There was probably about 350-ish.
What do you mean 350-ish? Show me the account.
I don't know if I have the exact statement for that month.
Well, then I'm not interested in that part of the lawsuit, madam. That's what you're supposed to have here. Miss Taggart, if you come to court and you're suing because you say that he emptied out a joint bank account, what you have to bring is you have to bring proof of that. And that would be the bank statement for when he closed that bank account, how much money was in it, and it would also show me how much money was in it the day before the fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have that?
I only have the bank statements up until April, so I do not have that one.
Not interested. Okay, so empty out the bank account you don't have any proof of. Wedding expenses. Who was planning the wedding?
I was, as he had told me to.
Who was paying for the wedding?
I was, out of my income tax return.
So?
So that is where I come with the opinion that he owes me at least half of that.
He doesn't. There has to be an agreement. In the event that Mr. Miller said to you, which of course he didn't, I am going to pay for half of the wedding, then that's a contract. But Mr. Miller didn't say that to you. What you want is you want half the wedding expenses because there was no wedding, right?
This is right.
But that's not the way the law works. There's nothing in the law that gives you the right and gives me the right to say to Mr. Miller, well, it didn't work out and you should pay for half the expenses. That's a different kind of court. It's a court that doesn't exist in this country. Now, what property do you allege that you left at his house?
There is a mirror that was given to me as a Christmas gift from him. He would not allow me to take it because he said it matched the bed that his father had given us as an early wedding present. There's an anatomy book that I like to refer to for work. It's a very expensive Gray's Anatomy book. Just a few little things. I had gone to his house.
Not interested in a few little things, madam. I'm waiting. So far, I have a mirror and a book.
Also, since the bed was given to us as a mutual gift from his father, I believe that I deserve half of the cost of the bed.
Got to get over it, Miss Taggart. Got to move on, Miss Taggart. Didn't work out. Didn't work out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terrell Taggart is accusing her ex-fiancé of false allegations of assault, stealing money from their bank account, and unpaid wedding expenses.
Okay. Did you buy her an anatomy book?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you have it?
No, Your Honor.
Where is it?
About 3 days after she had left, my house was burglarized, broken into, coincidentally enough.
When you say the house was burglarized, what was taken?
Everything, from couch, TV stand, television, all appliances, the mirror, blankets, you name it, it was burglarized.
Got it. Okay. Miss Taggart, you have to get over it. Move on. Put your hand down. Don't encourage her. Encourage her to move on.
I have encouraged her to
Good.
move on.
Good. Move on. It's over. Find somebody else. Devote all of your energies to something else. It's finished. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Sharon Martina Napolitano is suing the mother of her daughter's boyfriend, Deborah DeSimone, for damage caused to her Toyota Camry while the car was in her possession.
You two lovely ladies are neighbors, and you each have a child. You have a girl. You have a boy. They're dating each other.
Yes.
This is your complaint. You allowed your daughter, this young lady right here, to use your car. She was using your car one day to take Miss DeSimone around to do some chores.
Correct.
And that wouldn't have bothered you necessarily because she's the mother of the boyfriend, right? But then Miss DeSimone asked if she could borrow the car herself because she wanted to go food shopping, right?
Yes, to pick up a couple items.
And your daughter allowed her to drive the car. The car was damaged. You want Miss DeSimone to pay for the damage to the car.
Absolutely.
Miss DeSimone says she took the car, went into Food Town. While she was in Food Town, somebody must have hit your car.
Correct.
Right?
That is correct.
So it's not her fault. That's what you're saying.
That's correct.
We'll see. What year is your car?
It's a 1995 Camry.
How long have you had it?
Approximately a year.
So you bought it secondhand?
Yes, ma'am.
How many accidents have you had?
I've had one other one where I was hit from behind at a red light.
So you had a rear end damage to the car?
Mm.
Bumper? Or?
Bumper.
Bumper. Only the bumper?
Only the bumper.
Was the car fixed?
No.
On September 6th, what kind of damage was done to your car?
It would be the right quarter panel.
You have a photograph?
Absolutely.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's before and after.
Ooh. That's a bad one. Okay. So, you still dating each other?
Yes.
Okay, this is not going to be painful. Believe me. We're going to use the but-for rule, Miss DeSimone.
Okay.
But for the fact that you borrowed the car and took it to Food Town to go shopping, this wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, you took the car. You didn't have her permission to drive the car. You had her daughter's permission to drive the car.
Actually, there was a couple of things that happened prior to that. While I was in the car with her daughter, it was a very rainy day. Her daughter was driving the car. The car was hydroplaning a lot, and she became very nervous and asked if she pulled over if I would drive. I said, no problem, if it's safer. We completed our mission. We did proceed home. Asked if she didn't mind if I ran back out to just pick up a couple items at the Food Town. That's when all that began, and the police report states differently, if you'd like to see it, that he even stated, the police officer, that he saw prior damage on the car.
You mean this prior damage?
No, other damage.
We're not talking about other damage. We're talking about this damage.
But she's saying that there was only damage to the bumper, and according to this, it states that there was...
What difference does it make? This damage was not on the car, madam, when you borrowed it.
No.
That's all I'm talking about.
I don't believe so.
I am only talking about... Well, you don't miss this damage.
No.
Ma'am,
No, you don't have to speak. It was going to be easy. Now it's not so easy. For the fact that you borrowed the car, took it to Food Town, the car would have been parked in her driveway. If the car was parked in her driveway, the same driver that hit her car from Food Town would have had to look for it.
Can I please say
Stop.
something?
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And she's taking your word for the fact that you don't know how this accident happened. But it looks as if she had hit somebody else's car, unless she, I don't know how you can contort yourself to do this kind of a damage to somebody else's car. But you had the car, but for the fact that you borrowed the car, it wouldn't have had this kind of damage.
Correct.
This damage. Good. Then we don't have a problem. What do you want?
Okay. She just got done stating that the car was hydroplaning earlier, okay?
It doesn't make any difference.
Excuse me. They made it home safely. She has a Jeep Cherokee parked in the same parking lot that she could have used her own vehicle to go to the store. There is no reason to take my little car back out.
Let me ask you this question. Now you're getting angry, and you already won. So you have to go, find your center.
I've been trying to do a lot of it. I've been trying to find a lot of my center.
And say, it's over.
But I would have never asked her son to use her car.
Listen to me. It's a car. She's responsible. Done. Romeo and Juliet here. We're going to leave here happy. I suggest you do the same. How much did it cost to fix your car?
The estimate is $1687.98.
That's a pretty cheap estimate for this kind of damage.
I think so.
It is. Anything else? Romeo, Juliet. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1687.98. Thank you. That's it.
Matthew Terry claims ex-wife Kelly Terry owes for injuries he received during an argument in her home. Kelly is countersuing for harassment and for making false charges to Child Protective Services.
Mr. Terry, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes.
You have 5 children.
Yes.
When were you divorced?
Finally in July of 2005.
And I assume you were divorced because you decided that you couldn't make a, right?
Yes.
Fair statement?
Yes.
So after your divorce, you did the most ludicrous thing that I ever heard of. You moved into her house, rented a room, according to you, so that you could be close to your children. Is that right?
It's to help out with the children. There's 5 of them, and they're pretty overbearing sometimes.
Well, that's a great idea, but if you're going to live with her, might as well be married to her. living there under these circumstances is really ridiculous. In any event, to show you just how ridiculous, you claim that your former wife assaulted you.
Yes.
At a time when you were, in fact, living in the house, and you want her to pay for your medical bills, want her to compensate you for your injuries. Your former wife says you started the argument. She just finished it. And since that time, you've embarked on a campaign of harassment, and she is counterclaiming. Tell me when this incident happened, Mr. Terry.
Happened February 26th of this year.
And according to what I read in your complaint, you were in the house watching TV with some of the kids.
Yes.
What were you watching?
I believe we were watching NHRA on ESPN.
You were watching?
NHRA, it's automobile racing.
And how many of the children were you watching auto racing with?
I believe all 5 of them were watching, and 2 of the oldest ones had left the room at this incident.
How old are the children?
They range from 7 to 16.
So the 16-year-old left.
Yes.
One below that is how old?
14.
That one left. So 3 little ones.
Out of the room, yes.
The little ones are there. Tell me what happened.
We were sitting there watching TV. She came out of her room, which is adjoining the living room, and started swearing and was upset about something, and went to the fireplace, sat down, and was smoking a cigarette. At the whole time, she was sort of cussing me out and saying how negative things were with me.
Why were you angry with him?
I had asked him to help do things around the house and to help with the kids instead of sitting there watching TV.
That's what you do to a husband, not to a tenant.
Well, he gets a big discount in rent because of his help.
But he was a tenant.
Correct.
If you wanted to boss him around, you should have stayed married to him. Okay, so you were angry because you would ask him to do some chores, help with the kids, and he was sitting around watching TV.
Yes.
Acting like a husband.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Rather than as an almost employee, because if you say that he gets a big discount in his rent, then you're giving up a certain amount of rent in order to get work out of him.
Correct.
So you weren't getting work out of him.
Right.
Recipe for disaster. So you were angry and annoyed and letting him know it.
Yes.
What happened next, Mr. Terry?
She kept raving on and badgering me with her voices.
Mr. Terry, were you ignoring her?
I responded to some of the things.
How did you respond?
Just with my mouth.
In front of your children?
Yes, nothing negative came out of my mouth.
If there was nothing negative that came out of your mouth and she's cursing at you, why don't you tell me what you said to her?
I don't remember. I was concentrating on the program.
Well, try to remember, Mr. Terry. I'm curious what you were talking about in front of your
I don't see what the problem is this evening. I'm with the 3 children. They're with me, or all 5 were with me, so it's not like I'm not watching them like she wanted to. And she just kept bickering.
So go ahead. Let me hear.
And she finished her cigarette, got up, charged me, swung at my face, hit me in the shoulder. I have a previous injury, and it's like a tender spot in my shoulder.
You were still sitting on the couch?
Yeah, I was sitting on the front part of the couch, like leaning forward with my hands crossed, just watching the show. And I didn't think she was going to charge me like that. And she came up around the table, took a swung at my face. I went back. She hit me in the shoulder. I fell back, and my feet went up, and I broke the table in front of me.
Go ahead.
And then I sat back up from falling back into the couch, and I looked at the glass on the floor, and she went off saying that I was breaking things and that I did that on purpose. And I said, no, I fell back when you hit my shoulder. And she was really steamed then. And I picked up a big piece of glass, probably 4 foot by 4 foot, over her head, threw it down, my finger, and it hit me in the arch of my foot, cutting it. And then I got up, and she was throwing things at me continuously, and I told her I was going to call the sheriffs, and she said, no, I will do that. I got up to go to the phone, and she was already there, so I just left and went out and sat on the stairs.
Were you treated that night?
No.
The next day?
Yes. I woke up it was painful in my foot, but I thought it might subside over the night, so I went down to my room. After the sheriffs came, they took a statement from both of us, gave her a ticket for battery, and she told the sheriffs that she didn't mean to throw it at my foot. She was trying to aim for the ground. And I was outside the whole time, and the sheriffs...
could you do me a favor and answer my question? Were you treated the next day?
I was treated the next day, yes.
Where?
At San Bernardino Medical Center.
Can I see the papers, please?
Do you want to see the police report?
Yes.
There's the police report, the hospital report, off work notice.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Terry, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events of the 26th of February.
Okay. He was sitting on the couch, and I think just the one youngest child was there. I think the oldest two, who are actually 15 and 17, were gone because they're usually never at home. And he was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I went and stood in front of the TV and asked him if he would help me do some things around the house. This was in February, 8 months ago, so I don't remember what I needed him to do. However, when I stood in front of the TV, he told me to move my fat because he couldn't see the TV. And the TV is big, it's like a 52-inch TV. And so when he said that, I was furious. So I walked up to him, and as he's sitting in the corner of the couch, and I did put my hand on his shoulder and said to him, "Get out. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. Get out. And if you don't leave right now, I'm going to call the police." And that's when he kicked the table. And then when he did that, I was furious because my dad gave me that coffee table. It's very expensive. And I did not punch him. I did not hurt him in any way. I picked up the glass because it didn't really like shatter. It shattered but still stayed together. And I picked it up and I showed it to him and I said, "Look what you did to my table." And I threw it down on the wood right where it was. And again, it broke in like big pieces, you know, but not like shattering, like where there was like sharp edges because it's tempered or something like that. And he immediately got up and I walked over to the phone to call the police.
In February of 2006, was he paying rent to you?
Yes, he was.
And he had paid February's rent?
I believe so.
You can't throw him out.
Right.
And who are you to throw him out?
But he was damaging my property.
No. Listen to me, Miss Terry. You can't do what you did, madam. What you did was 100% wrong. What you did was confuse your circumstance. I mean, you two people elected to have this bizarre arrangement where he rented an apartment room, I don't know what it was, and there was an understanding that he would help out with the children, help out with this, help out with that, but he's not your slave. You can't stand in front of the television set and expect no reaction. That's what wives do, stand in front of the act and say, "Listen, I asked you to do this and I asked you to do that, and you didn't do it." So he responded to you. You didn't like it. Sticks and stones will break my bones. Names will never hurt me. You can't put your hands on him. Period. How many days were you out of work, Mr. Terry?
The following day was a Monday. I went to the doctor's. I left work at half day, noon. I was there by 2.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a soils engineer, foundation engineer, inspector.
So how many days' work did you miss?
4 days plus a Saturday. I was taken off work for 3 days, and my employer told me since I was off
Don't tell me what
Tuesday,
your
Wednesday, and Thursday.
Listen, you're trying to talk
no
over me, Mr. Terry. That won't do.
I was taken off work from the doctor Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
That's all. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days.
Yes.
And how much do you earn a day?
$300 a day.
Are you not living in the house now?
No.
How much child support do you pay for your 5 children?
$2,000 a month.
You up to date?
Yes.
Great. When did you move out, sir?
July.
You lived there from February till July?
The following week, I found a new place to live, and it wasn't ready until then.
That is not true.
Just a second. So what you're telling me, Mr. Terry, is you lived there March, April, May, and June, 4 months?
I had the recreational vehicle, and I was gone a lot of the time.
Did you pay rent for those 4 months?
Yes.
Okay. I'm confused, Mr. Terry. If this happened February of 2006 and you decided not to pursue the protective order, even though she was given a ticket, why didn't you move out of the house immediately?
Like I said.
Why did you permit him to stay in the house for 4 months instead of evicting him?
You know, it's...
No. Are those legitimate questions?
Yes, they are.
You could have evicted him. So month-to-month tenant, did he have a lease? No. So he's a month-to-month tenant. So now my question to you, Mr. Terry, is why did you file this case in September or October of 2006, some 8 months later?
Mainly my whole reason for living is to take care of the children, and I work 60 to 70 hours a week. And
why didn't you
now I
file
have
this
time.
case?
Now
Well,
I
that's
have
too
time.
bad. That's too bad, Mr. Terry. Quite frankly, I was very sympathetic with your position. I don't think that your former wife had the right to put her hands on you to cause this injury. And if you had decided to move out in March, 4 days later, you paid up for February, said, I'm not going to live under these circumstances anymore because it's too violent, I would have heard your case, and I would have said, you're absolutely right, sir. She has to compensate. You were out of work. But this is an afterthought. And I don't know why the afterthought right now, Mr. Terry. You want to explain that to me? There has to be a reason for this afterthought.
I didn't want to create any more negativity in the home.
Well, you did by staying there for 4 months, sir.
I think it was more of a positive thing for the children and to take care of the children. That's my main thing.
Just a second. For the last 4 months, is that right?
Yes.
So why would you sue your former wife now?
I'm out of the house, and it would not create any negativity right now.
Oh, Oh, really? You think not?
Yes.
You think that the fact that you have children who are certainly of an age of understanding know that their father is suing their mother in court for thousands of dollars wouldn't create negativity?
She sued me in court for divorce.
That's different, sir.
It was more of a financial thing with her.
That's different, sir.
And I did not tell the children there was any litigation going on.
You may not. Don't you think that your litigation against their mother at this point creates stress? I mean, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes.
And if you're suing her for $5,000, I'm sure that in your financial circumstance, the fact that you rented a room to you indicates that you're not exactly flush with dough. So $5,000 is a lot of money to her. I still don't understand the rationale for 8 months after the event.
I can explain that to you.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
The reason that he filed now is because that's part of my counterclaim for harassment. Because the reason he moved out is because I have a boyfriend. And in the year and a half, we have been divorced. I have never seen anybody else. We have, but not like inside the home or anything, or brought them around the children. And Matt just went berserk when I had somebody come over to the house and meet the kids and stay there, not stay there, but just interact with the kids, because it's never happened before. And on August 2nd of this year, I have a police report where he came home and my new friend John was there, and Matt just flipped out, just started going crazy. He threatened to throw John off the deck. He threatened all of these things. And so I immediately called the police, and the police stood there while Matt moved out.
Mr. Terry, you have a problem with your wife having a new male friend?
No, not at all.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Matthew Terry says ex-wife Kelly Terry purposely cut him with broken glass during an argument in their home.
So you want to tell me your version of what happened on the 2nd?
Yeah, I came home from work and she called me maybe 20 times on my cell phone while I was at work in meetings, such things. And when I got home, I told her, you can't call me like 20 times a day. I was in meetings and she said, you better respond to me. And so I went downstairs and she chased me all over the house, just badgering me the whole time. I went to make a phone call to the sheriff's and she kept pulling the wire out of the house.
Was her boyfriend there?
No.
So the boyfriend wasn't there?
No.
This had nothing to do with the boyfriend?
No, he wasn't there.
So he wasn't there when the altercation took place? Well, it's interesting because she called the police, and the call that she made to the police says, called the RP and told her that if he ever sees her with her new boyfriend, that he's going to kill him, and also told her that he's going to steal her boat. RP would like an emergency restraining order against the subject. Why?
I don't know anything about that.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
There was no restraining order.
He lived in the house up until that day. And the police were there as he was packing his stuff and leaving. And he did make a comment to John. We were outside, you know, I just wanted him to just go. And he walked by the sliding glass door and said in front of the police, I hope you're clean because I'm calling Child Protective Services to John. I hope your record's clean. And after that, and that's where the counterclaim comes in. This is the second time in my life I've ever been to court. The only other time was divorce court. And the judge commended us on having the most friendly divorce that he had ever seen. And we've been friends, great friends. We're just not good married.
You weren't good living in the same place either.
We were for a long time we were, until I decided to move on with my life. And that's the problem that he had, is that I guess because I married him, I'm never entitled to be happy. I don't love him like that, you know. He lives in an RV. He parks it in front of my driveway, in the street, in a cul-de-sac. He'll leave it there for 3 days. He'll start fights with the neighbors, and all of this has been since August of this year.
Why, Mr. Terry?
The last time I brought the RV up, she told me to bring it and bring the kids to the dental appointments, and also Kenny, my 8-year-old, has a heart condition. He has to go to echocardiogram. So I brought the vehicle up. She knew that's the only vehicle I drive. I parked it in her driveway.
Yeah.
Plugged into her electricity.
Right. But she said you left it there 3 days.
I was there for 3 days with it.
Did she ask you to move it?
On the third day, after I asked her what was happening with Kenny, Kenny told me that a friend of hers had choked him and thrown him down. And once I brought that up to her attention, it put her off, and she called the sheriff's.
That's not true. I have 2 teenage kids that go to high school, and so my house usually has about 9 or 10 high school kids in it.
Listen, you don't have to hear it.
Yeah.
She wants you to leave her alone. Where do you usually keep your RV?
I live in resorts.
Keep it there. Just keep it out of her driveway.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Terry, I'm not entertaining your counterclaim for harassment right now or ever. I think that things have happened, and he's just got to get over the fact that you're moving on. Moving up, moving on, moving out. You're absolutely entitled to do that. Hopefully, and I want you to pray every night that he meets a nice young lady, because that's the way that he's going to move on. He's going to move on. He's going to take you off his plate and put somebody else on his plate. Go looking for somebody. Go to Match.com. Go someplace. Go someplace, Mr. Terry. You'll find somebody who absolutely adores you.
I'm not after her at all.
Good.
My whole thing since the divorce was to take care of the children. That's my main thing.
Listen to me.
I raised them.
Listen to me. My sense is that you both are trying to be reasonable parents.
Yes.
You're just frustrating your children in the process. And if you have occasional spats, that's unfortunate, but it's not unexpected. You're going to have occasional spats. If you didn't fight, then you would still be living together. But, Mr. Terry, there is no way that I'm awarding you $5,000 and taking that out of the mouths of your children. That's just not going to happen. You are, however, entitled to reimbursement for the 3 days that you were out of work as a result of your former wife's actions. That's $900. Did you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes.
What were the unreimbursed medical bills? Unreimbursed.
I have to pay back the insurance company, Pfizer
What insurance
Health,
company?
Pfizer Health, Benesite, for anything that I recover that they paid for out in medical bills.
Listen to me. If what you're telling me is that your insurance covered the medical bills,
Yes.
that's what you're supposed to tell me.
Yes, they covered $300. I have a $200 deductible, and I have to reimburse them for any...
I understood what you just said to me, sir. And I think that you're a very smart man, a little passive-aggressive, but a smart man. So is what you're telling me that you had to pay $200 because that's your deductible. Let me see the check for $200.
I don't have a check.
Well, did you pay it?
I paid $110 of it.
Show
I owe
me.
$94. I
Show
don't
me.
have it.
Well, that's too bad. So your wife owes you $900. That's your wages for the 3 days you were out of work. Mr. Terry, put your hand down. Judgment for the plaintiff.